book of Srila Prabhupada, right? So that's so nice. Okay, so let's start with our pranam mantras. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksharam Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, welcome everyone. So we'll get started. Let me start with displaying the screen. Okay, so Yash, Manahar, do you remember what we have done so far?
I don't remember.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap. The book that we are reading is On the Way to Krishna, right? That's the first book. Well, there's not such an order like first, second, but from the topics, the general understanding is, building upon the topics Maharaj has put in certain order, and we are following that order in our reading because the intention is that we will read most of these books that, these small books that Prabhupada has written, and we will so as we finish, we will progress through the entire 3 categories of the books. So the first one that we are reading is On the Way to Krishna. Okay, first chapter. What was the very first point that we learned in that chapter? Through way to happiness, thorough way to happiness. What do you remember? The main things maybe, that stood out from that chapter was what? The difference between the material happiness and which is temporary, which is attained from these things around us, right? Maybe food, maybe clothing, maybe our possessions. But there is something beyond, that is a eternal happiness, which is on the eternal platform, which is a spiritual happiness. And that's not temporary, because as it names itself, it is eternal, which is from the bond of love. Can anybody, while we are living, can anybody say that we are not born from these parents? If we are born from certain parents, it's unbreakable, right? While we are in the body, then we take the next body, then we have another sets of parents. That's one thing. But say, while we are there, can it be changed in this present body? No. Similarly, our true existence, which is not the body is temporary, but our real existence is the soul, which is eternal in nature, fully knowledgeable and fully blissful. That is permanent. That is Sat Chit Ananda. It doesn't have to die, or it doesn't have to take birth, but because of the contaminations, they have to take birth and accept the bodies. And it's the body who takes birth, it's due to the presence of soul, of course, but it's not the soul that has to go, that has to die. So it just soul passes on to another body, right? So the soul, having said that our understanding that is permanent, then the there might have been some source of it, right? Because everything has a source. So the soul's source, Krishna has given in Bhagavad Gita that I am the seed-giving Father. He's the source of everything. Everything emanates from me. Chara achar. Chara means living beings who can move, and achara means living beings who cannot move. Everything is existing from the Lord. Can anybody change that? The reason why that bond is permanent is because it is unchangeable. Can anybody change? No, we are not born from, our soul is not part and parcel of Lord Krishna, where we just emanated from something else. Is it possible? No, that bond is eternal. It is eternally there. It cannot be changed. So when we revive our relationship back with Lord Krishna, our true source, from whom we have emanated, we are part and parcel of the Lord, Supreme Lord, and we are meant in having that, bond of love and reciprocation of love with Him. That cannot be changed either. And that's our eternal happiness, which is, again, the nature by nature, the soul is blissful. And that's the bliss. In that the bliss comes from that eternal bond of love and loving reciprocation with Lord Krishna. So that was the very first, very basic understanding, very first topic of anything, actually, what to say of just the book, but anything in actually entire creation, so to say, our existence, right? We were learning in the first chapter how we do so much endeavor just to do what? To get happiness. Second chapter. Okay, understanding that, there is something beyond, there's an eternal happiness, and we are, in this material world, we are just, stuck with this body, and, we go through the cycle of birth and death, and, we go through this millions of lifetimes, trying to attain these so-called pleasures in life, which are temporary in nature. What do we do? Question, what do we do? What do? We revive our relationship back with Krishna. How we can do that? Can we have relationship with someone whom we don't know? No. So we have to know Lord Krishna. And that's why we read the scriptures. We associate with the devotees of the Lord, and we chant the holy names. That is the process that is prescribed for today's age. So the second chapter, we learned about ways of chanting and knowing Krishna, right? And then knowing Krishna, what do we do? To revive that bond of love, the relationship back with Lord Krishna. We see Krishna everywhere, right? Did we talk about, do you all remember the conversation we were talking about? Krishna is saying that I am the food, I'm the taste in water, I'm the light in the sun, I'm the intelligence in the intelligent. We cannot live even without these things, right? And Krishna is saying, even all those things come from me. So we can see Krishna everywhere. And that is, that's how, we purify, that purifies our heart slowly, slowly, slowly. And that when we remember Krishna all the time, we will not commit anything that is wrong against the dharma, right? And that was the third chapter we were focusing on. Why do we have to know Krishna? Why do we have to chant his name? Why do we have to see Krishna everywhere? The point is we have to purify our hearts. The whole intention is we have to purify our hearts and remember him all the time so that we don't do anything against adharma. Okay, then Krishna is saying this, having attained this human body, that is the fourth chapter. If we don't take to this process of Krishna consciousness, if we to not purify ourselves, if we don't put in efforts in that, then Krishna was calling that verse. Do you remember? Who remembers that? Manor, do you remember? Mudha. The Shabda Mudha. Mudha is what? Means foolish. It is foolish if we understanding coming to this, human form, if we don't take to Krishna consciousness. It is foolish. And then the wise. Prabhupada is explaining, was explaining by the analogy. Do you remember the analogy, the frogs analogy? The frog somebody asked the frog that, how big is the sea? The frog has always lived in a small pond. Okay, for him, that small pond is like whole thing. He has not seen nothing beyond. And then he's asking, somebody's asking that frog and saying that, have you seen Atlantic Ocean? And frog is saying, no, I haven't seen that. What is Atlantic Ocean? He's saying it's a big, big, very big pond. He's saying, how big? Frog is asking, how big is it? Is it as big as double the size of this pond? Then he's saying, okay, not then, now if not double, 4 times the size of the pond, 8 times the size of the pond, 100 times the size of the pond, 1,000 times the size of the pond. Is it really, even if you go to whatever number, still ocean is so humongous, it is so huge. And frog's thinking is what? That frog is thinking, oh, okay, is it going to be that? It's speculating. So that's how, the level of our thinking is. If we don't know anything beyond this, our senses cannot perceive, something that is really beyond these inconceivable things. This universe itself, how much do we know about the universe? So we cannot speculate. We cannot have, by our own senses, we can never reach. So we have to surrender to the Lord, just in the mood of how Arjuna did. And if we don't do that, if we are not, taking to the process of purifying our hearts, and Krishna is calling those people as mudha. Then he explained also then further on in the last part of the chapter, Krishna, we quoted there was a verse quoted from Bhagavad Gita, who are the wise people who take to Krishna consciousness? Even if they come for some reason for personal reasons to the God, still they are considered saintly and wise because they are at least, situated in a consciousness when they are approaching the Lord. And that's why Krishna is always ready to help us. He's always willing to help us. It's just that person is foolish if we don't want to take up to this process of purifying ourselves. Now, what are we going to study in today's? This was just the summary. Do you all remember we have discussed all of this at the length? Every chapter we have discussed all of these things. So did this sound like very familiar or somewhat familiar? Or do you remember of these conversations? So now we will go to our 5th chapter today, steering towards the Supreme. Okay, so let's get started. And as the topic suggests, the chapter's name suggests, how we purify ourselves. Because are we foolish or are we wise? If we are wise, then how should we steer ourselves towards the Lord? And that is this chapter. Okay, steering towards the Supreme. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Udaraha sarva evaite jnani tva atmanve atmaiva me matam asthita sahi yuktatma mamen eva nuttamam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and the most perfect goal. See, here Krishna is, explaining himself. What is the Paramam Gatim? Uttamam Gatim. See, Evanuttam, Uttama. The last word of this verse has the word what? Uttamam. Gatim. Gatim means the final destination. And Uttama, we know this word Uttama. Uttama means the highest, like the most, in simple words, if we explain that word, we could say best. Right? Uttamam Gatim. And that's the perfect goal. And what that is what? To attain the Lord. What are the goals that we have in our life? What are the goals that we have in our life? We all want to achieve certain things, right? Somebody wants to become, say, a very good artist. Somebody wants to become a good magician. Somebody wants to become a very good professional in computers or in doctor, or he wants to become a lawyer, or they want to become architect. We set various goals in our life, right? And when we work towards that, what is Krishna saying here? That the highest goal and the most perfect goal is to attain Lord. Because if we revive our real Swarupa, our real identity, and if we come into our real existence, soul doesn't, it is fully, by nature, it is fully knowledgeable. Does the soul has to go to the school to learn some skills? No. It is fully knowledgeable, fully blissful, and it is eternal. That's the nature. By nature, that's how we are. But just because we have been entangled, or we have accepted this body, our nature has, we are bound here in this body with those limitations of this body itself. So Krishna is saying the highest goal that is to attain me. That also means, attaining Krishna means what? That we get out of this, we break out of this cycle of birth and death, of accepting this material body, and we come into our original form. And that is soul. So let's read. That's what the meaning is. So let's read Prabhupada this further elaborating on this verse. Here Krishna is saying that all the men who come to him, whether they be distressed, in need of money, curious, etc., are all welcome. But of them, the person who is in knowledge is very dear to him. The others are welcome because it is understood that, of course, in the time they continue on the path of the God, they will become as good as the man of the knowledge. They will gradually acquire knowledge, whoever is approaching the Lord. Even if they go to the Lord for personal reasons, oh my Lord, I have this very hard exam coming up, I want to pass with very good results. At least you're approaching Lord, right? You're not thinking, oh, everything I can do on my own endeavor. Yes, you have to put an endeavor also at the same time. But the sanction ultimately is with the destiny, and that's set by Lord's desire and our own karma. And how this Lord's desire is based on our own karma and our own consciousness. So people, whoever approach to the Lord, they are all eventually, in the time, by the influence of time, as the time passes, they will also get purified. So here Lord Krishna is saying in this verse that people who approach to the Lord, they are pious people, and amongst those who are in knowledge of me, they understand the tattva, they understand the supremacy of the Lord, and they accept that. And slowly with their realizations, they get purified very quickly. So Krishna is saying they are very dear to me. Generally, however, it so happens that when one goes to the church for profit and the money doesn't come, he concludes that approaching God is nonsense and he gives up all the connections with the church. That is danger of approaching the God and with ulterior motives. So, people who could go to the God and ask for things, and if their desires are fulfilled, good. Their faith will be there somehow. They'll continue. But if their desires are not fulfilled, then they will say, "Oh, there is no need to go. Nothing is going to happen," and it is nonsense. But that's like their ulterior motive. And that Prabhupada is condemning that it is very dangerous. No matter what, if we approach to the Lord just in the matter of time, we will slowly, gradually get purified. For instance, during World War II, it was reported that many wives of the German soldiers went to church to pray for their husbands' safe return. But when they found their husbands had been killed in the battle, they became atheistic. Thus, we went to God to become our order supplier. Is like God an order supplier? That's what Prabhupada is asking. And when he does not supply our orders, we say that there is no God. This is the effect of praying for material things. Because if we pray to the Lord for material things, and if they are not fulfilled, then then we kind of our faith is shaken. That's why we should not ask for material things to the Lord. We will, we should put our best efforts. We should rely on the mercy of the Lord. But at the same time, even if we want, still Lord Krishna is not discouraging that they should still approach the Lord. But if we are, on the platform of thinking that, oh, there's no God, I can do all by myself, then that is actually complete ignorance. Because everything is sanctioned by the will of the Lord. In this connection, there is a story of a little boy, 5-year-old, named Dhruva, who belonged to the royal family. In the course of time, his father, the king, tired of his mother and disposed her as his queen. He then took another woman as a queen, and she became the stepmother of the boy. She was very envious of Dhruva, and one day, as Dhruva was sitting on the father's knee, she insulted him. "Oh, you cannot sit on the lap of your father," she said, "because you are not born of me." She dragged Dhruva from his father's lap, and the boy became very angry. He was the son of Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas are notorious and for their quick temper. Dhruva took this to be the great insult, and he went to his mother, who had been disposed. "Dear mother," Dhruva asked. So now Dhruva, you all know the story of Dhruva Maharaj, right? Prabhupada is quoting that story, how he approached to the Lord for what? For getting a kingdom bigger than his grandfather, Brahma. So he wanted the kingdom not only bigger than his father, because his stepmother, treated him not fairly, unfair, but now he wanted the kingdom which is even bigger than his grandfather, which is his Brahma. And then he asked his mother, "Dear mother," he said, "my stepmother has insulted me by dragging me from my father's lap." And then mother said, "Dear son," the mother replied, "what can I do? I am helpless and your father no longer cares for me." "Well, how can I care? How can I take revenge?" asked the boy, Dhruva. "My dear boy," this is now mother saying, "you are helpless. Only if the God helps you, you can take revenge." "Oh, where is God?" Dhruva asked enthusiastically. Okay, let's do this. Let's read this along with the two children who can read this together. So let's see. Mukund, would you like to read? And Manhar, would you like to read?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, very nice. So Manahar, can you read the lines for Dhruva? And Mukund, can you read the lines for the mother? So on the first line, so I'll point you, okay? And then you all pay attention where we are in the dialogue, okay? And then we'll kind of do this a nice skit for Dhruva Maharaj's pastime. Okay, Manahar, go read. Start with the first line.
Dear mother, he said, my stepmother had insulted me by dragging me from my father's lap.
Yes, go
Dear
ahead,
sir,
Mukund.
the mother replied, what can I do? I am helpless, and your father no longer cares for me.
Hmm. Manahar.
Well, how can I take revenge? The boy asked.
My dear boy, you are helpless. Only if God helps you take revenge.
Hmm. Manahar.
Oh, oh, where's God? Dhruva asked enthusiastically.
Very nice.
I understand so many sages go to the jungle and forest to see God. The mother replied, they undergo great penances and austerities in order to find God there.
Hmm. At once, Dhruva went to the forest and began asking the tigers and elephants. Yes, Manahar, read. Oh, are you God? Read.
I, okay. Oh, are you God? Are you God? In this way, he was questioning all the animals. Seeing that
Mhm.
Dhruva was very much inquisitive, Sri Krishna sent Narada to see about the situation. Narada quickly went to the forest and found Dhruva.
Very nice. Mhm. Then I'll read the Narad Muni's lines. My dear boy, Narada said, you belong to the royal family. You cannot suffer all these penances and austerities. Please return to your home. Your mother and father are very much anxious for you. Okay, next line is Manohar's.
Please don't try to divert me in that way, the boy said. If you know something about God, or if you know how I can see God, please tell me. Otherwise, go away and don't disturb me.
Yeah, see how determined Dhruva Maharaj was to attain God. When Narad saw that Dhruva was so determined, he initiated him as a disciple and gave him the mantra. And what was the mantra that Dhruva Maharaj got from Narad Muni?
Om
Om
Namo
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Very nice. Dhruva chanted this mantra and became perfect, and God came before him. Okay, so let me read these lines. My dear Dhruva, what do you want? You can take from me whatever you want. Yeah, go ahead, Manohar. My
Okay.
dear Lord, the boy replied.
The boy replied, I was undergoing such severe penances for my father's kingdom in land, but now I have seen you. Even the great sages and saints can't see you. What what is my profit? I left my home to find merely some scraps of glass and rubbish, and instead I have found a very valuable diamond. Now I am satisfied. I have no need to ask anything of you.
Very nice. So what did Dhruva reply? When he saw the Lord, obviously Lord is full of all the opulences, full of beauty, strength. But when you attain to such a pure person, the purity of the Lord, that touched Dhruva's heart, and Dhruva did not want anything else now, but he wanted the Lord. And then what happened next? Thus, even though one may be poverty stricken or in distress, if he goes to the God with the same determination as Dhruva, intending to see the God and take his benediction, and if he happens to see the God, he will no longer want any material things, because Our Lord's heart is so loving for everybody. What to say when you get so much, your best friend or your best well-wisher or your eternal father by your side. Do you want all the other things? That's how Dhruva felt. Hmm? He comes to understand that the foolishness of material possessions, and he puts the illusions aside for the real things. When one becomes situated in Krishna consciousness like Dhruva Maharaj, he becomes fully satisfied and does not want anything. Very nice. Thank you both of you, Mukund and Manohar. It was very nice. So you know this pastime, right? So we kind of played this pastime today by reading it. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll continue. The Jnani, the wise man, knows that material things are flickering. He also knows that there are three aspects that complicate all material gain. One wants profit from the work, one wants adoration from others because of his riches, and one wants fame because of his wealth. If in any case he knows that all these apply to the body, and when the body is finished, they are also gone. They will also go. Correct? When the body dies, one will no longer be a rich man, but a spirit soul. And according to his work, he will have to enter another body. Will he be like a rich man? Will he be a famous man? Will he be like a wealthy man? No. These are all temporary things. And then based on the consciousness and karma, he'll have to accept another body. Right? There's nothing wrong in these achieving these things, but we have to understand that the nature of these things is temporary. So would we put efforts in something that is going to be eventually taken away from us? The Gita, and that's what Krishna was calling the people who don't understand that. Krishna is calling what to them? Mudha, that means foolish. The Gita says that the wise man is not bewildered by these. He knows that what is what. Why then should he bother himself in attaining material wealth? His attitude is, I have an eternal connection with Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Now let me establish that relationship firmly so that Krishna will take me back to his kingdom. The cosmic situation is giving us all faculty to re-establish this relationship with Krishna and return to Godhead. This should be our mission of life. Everything we need is being supplied by God. Land, grain, fruits, milk, shelter, and clothing. We only have to live peacefully and cultivate Krishna consciousness. That should be our mission in life. We should therefore be satisfied with God, with what God has supplied in the form of food, shelter, dens, and should not want more and more and more. We should not be greedy of these things, right? The best type of civilization is one that ascribes to the maxim of plain living and high thinking. It is not possible to manufacture food and all these other things in a factory. These things and whatever else we require are supplied by the God. Our business is only to take the advantage of these good things and become God conscious. So you're following how attaining this, how we steer slowly towards this highest goal. How did Krishna start there in this chapter? The highest goal is to attain the Lord. So we will read this verse. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy is totally based on this verse. Process that he has given is Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, 3 times. Eva Kevalam, Kalau nasteva 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 gatiranyatha. By chanting the Lord's name, by engaging in devotional service, we engage, our hearts and our consciousness, and which due to which these hearts and consciousness gets purified, and that's how we become Krishna conscious or God conscious. Okay. Although God has given us all facilities to live peacefully on this earth, cultivate Krishna consciousness, and finally to come to Him, in this age, we are unfortunate, we are short lived, and there are so many people without food, shelter, married life, or deaths from the onslaught of nature. This is due to the influence of the age of Kali. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing the dreadful situation in this age, emphasized the absolute necessity for cultivating spiritual life. And how should we do it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the formula. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, 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 Katiranyatha. Just always chanting Hare Krishna, never mind whether you are in a factory or in a hell or in the shackle or in the skyscraper. It doesn't matter. Just go on chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no expense, there is no impediment, there is no caste, there is no creed, there is no color. Anyone can do it. Just chant and hear. And slowly what happens, our consciousness gets steered towards the Lord by doing that. Somehow or other, if one comes in contact with Krishna consciousness and executes the process under the guidance of the bona fide guide or spiritual master, he is sure to go back to God. So, what is the next verse? Bahunam Janmanamante. This is one of the very, very important verses of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7. Very important verse. Are you guys memorizing some shlokas from Bhagavad Gita? So you all should memorize some shlokas from Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarva Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such great soul is very rare. So what is Lord Krishna saying in this verse? That after many, many lifetimes, every lifetime we have taken before this, we have done all this enjoyment and achievements and going behind these material things. We've done all that. This is not our first life. We've done all that. We went to schools, we went to work, we've done whatever we want to attain. But what happened? Then again at the end of that life, we have to leave the body and go again, start all over. Again go to the schools, again go to the college, again go to work, again become old, again become diseased, and again have to face the death. So after going through many, many such births, Krishna is saying that if one is in actual knowledge, he surrenders unto me. What does surrender means? Does surrender mean like keeping the weapons in your hand and just like bowing down and saying, oh, I'm surrendered? No. Surrender means change of your heart. If he is ready to purify, if he understands his real position, and that also comes by the mercy of the Lord. And that is very rare, Krishna is saying. That understanding comes very rare because it's by the mercy of the Lord. If a person comes to that, he's saying then that he can know me to be the cause of all causes and all that is, and such a soul is very rare. Philosophical research into the science of God has been prosecuted for many births God realization is very easy, but that at the same time it is very difficult because it is very rare. It is easy for those who accept Krishna's word as truth, but those who do not understand through the research work by the dint of advancement of knowledge have to create their faith after finishing so much research work and the process. And in the process, they have to take so many births. There are different types of transcendentalists called Tattvavid, who know the absolute truth. The transcendentalists call the absolute truth that in which there is no duality. In that absolute truth, there is no duality. Everything is on the same level. One who knows this in truth is called Tattvavid. Okay. So Krishna proclaims that the absolute truth is known in three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The impersonal Brahman effulgence, the localized super soul, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, there are three angles from which one may envision the absolute truth. So I'll give you a simple example of explaining this. What is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan? Have you heard these three words? Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan? How we can know Krishna in these three aspects? Okay, I'll give you a simple example. Say there is a train, you're on the platform, on the, going somewhere from, say, from New York to Washington, DC. And you're on the platform waiting for the train to arrive. You bought the train ticket, and you're on the platform. And now the train is going to arrive. From the very far away, you will see the light, right? The train would have light because there are tunnels and all those things that would come on the way. So train always has a light in the very front, right? So if you just see that light from the very far away, if you conclude that that light is Bhagwan, is the Supreme Lord, who's going to take you across, that light is everything, and that's the maximum extent you have seen. You did not see the train arriving, you did not get onto the train, but you just saw the light, and you concluded that's the train. I mean, in this case, like you concluded, that's the Brahman effulgence. That's the one aspect of the Lord, that full energy, right? This fully, like millions and millions of suns, how much light they can give, that is the effulgence. That's called the effulgence of the Lord. So you've seen that, see, okay? Then the second person on the platform, he actually sees the train arriving. Okay, he didn't have to go to New York or Washington, DC, but he actually saw the train arriving, and then the train leaves. He did not get onto the train because he's not going towards that direction. So for him, one person only saw the effulgence from far. Other person saw the train actually coming and going. Okay, so the experience of the person who has actually seen the train coming on the platform and going is going to be more than the first one. Then the third person actually, he saw the effulgence, he saw the train coming, and then he sat onto that train. Okay, the third person. Now you tell me, the third person who has actually sat on the train has the realized experience of how the train is, correct? So that's how you have to understand this absolute truth in three aspects, which is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Brahman is the external effulgence of the Lord. And Paramatma is actually who is seated in your heart. You can experience that. And Bhagwan is actually the real form of the Lord, the eternal form of the Lord, which is Shama Sundar. He plays with the Gopas. He gets bound by Mother Yashoda. And he dances with gopis, he sings with the gopis. That is Bhagwan. So the people who meditate on the Lord as formless, who do tapasya, they can get at the most the experience of the Lord to the level of Brahman and Paramatma. But the devotee of the Lord who actually accepts Krishna, as in the consciousness of people who are Brajvasis or in Vrindavan, they think Krishna is there, because of their so much pure love for Krishna, they think Krishna as their son. They Krishna like Mother Yashoda uh, and Nanda Maharaj, they think Krishna is their son. The Gopas and the Gopis, they think Krishna is their friend. So when slowly by the grace of the Lord and taking to the process of Krishna consciousness, purifying ourselves, if we come to that platform of pure love for God, we can experience the direct reciprocation from the Lord Himself. Right? So we have to understand these three aspects of the Lord: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. When we say Paramatma, we all know, and Krishna said that, right? In Bhagavad Gita, He is seated in everybody's heart. So we experience, right? Every jiva, Krishna is there. And Brahman is all this effulgence, this energy that we have everywhere. That is just merely one fraction of Brahman. All this energy that we are feeling here is actually just one fraction of Krishna's energy that is coming from Brahman. So that way, if person is purified to the level of a pure devotee, then he can actually have that reciprocation with the Lord Himself directly, and that is the Bhagwan tattva. So we have to understand these three tattvas. It is little complicated to understand, but if we try to if you think about that analogy, it is not hard to understand. The three aspects of the Lord: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. The impersonal Brahman effulgence, the localized super soul, and the supreme personality of Godhead. This is what these three things are. Thus, there are three angles from which one may envision the absolute truth. One may view the mountain from the great distance and thus perceive it from one angle of vision. He comes closer, he may see the trees and foliage on the mountain. And if he begins to climb on the mountain, then he will find so much variegatedness in the trees, plants, and animals, right? Same thing. If we see a mountain from far away, we know that, okay, that's how it is. But when we come closer, we know how big it is and what trees are there and what not. But when we climb on it, then we know actually the magnitude of this mountain, the strength and everything, right? That's how we understand. We can, one can understand Lord as an energy. One can understand Lord as Paramatma in the heart, but there is also a form of the Lord, which is a personal form of the Lord, which is Shama Sundar, Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. And we hear so many pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, right? Okay. The objective is the same, but due to the different angles of vision, sages have different conception of absolute truth. Or another example is that the sunshine, the sun disk, and the sun god. One who is in the sunshine cannot claim that he is on the sun itself. And if one is situated in the sun from the point of view of a vision, better situated, the sunshine may be compared to the all-pervasive Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence. The localized sun disk may be compared to the localized aspect of Super Soul, that is Paramatma. And the sun God who is residing in the sun may be compared to the personality of Godhead. As on this earth planet, we have multi variety of living entities. We can understand from the Vedic literature that the sun also there is a variety of living entities, but their bodies are made of fire, just as our bodies are made of earth. So there are living beings on moon also, we know, right? From our Shastras at least. Maybe, the science today doesn't know. They've concluded that there's no life on moon, but there is life on moon. How is moon revolving around? There is something that is taking care of that, right? Then there is also life on sun, but then they have the suitable body, which is suitable for those planets or those systems. Like sun has, on the sun there is life, but those bodies are made of fire. On the moon also there is life. Their bodies are made from the suitable element, which is suitable to live there in those conditions. And we here have the bodies which are made of mostly water and earth. So like that, we can understand that there is life everywhere. And that is the all-pervading form of the Lord, that is Paramatma. And then there is energy everywhere, and that is the Brahman aspect of the Lord. And then there is Bhagavan, that is Lord Krishna himself. Okay, so I think we have covered half the chapter, and we are at part of the time. Let us stop here, and we will take any questions. Let's discuss anything that you want to share, that you learned, or you want to ask, or you have any questions. Anything. Manohar, Mukund, do you have any questions, or you want to add anything, or you want to share anything? What did you learn today? Yes, go ahead, Manohar.
So I learned that we like the forms of the Lord. One can understand him as an energy. One can understand him like as the Paramatma in the heart, and but his actual form is as Shamsundara in Vrindavana.
Very nice. Perfect. Okay. Anybody wants? Yes, Jyotsna, you want to share?
I learned that people can perceive the Lord in different forms. Okay, kind of like they can understand him differently, and they're in different stages of understanding him.
Very nice. Thank you. Mukund?
Actually, I just wanted to share that there's another analogy
Mm-hmm.
for Paramatma and Bhagwan.
Mm-hmm.
That like the Brahman, they see that there's a mountain, but what they see is that it's just something very big and black.
Mm-hmm.
And but then the Paramatma goes even closer,
Mm-hmm.
and then they see that it is big and it is green, or green or white, and like that. And then Bhagwan goes even closer and sees that there are trees on it, or there is snow on it,
Yes.
and it is a very huge thing, and
Yes.
and there's many other things on it also. Many animals live there.
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you for sharing that analogy. Beautiful. And when we experience that the Bhagwan aspect of the Lord, I mean, we are not so pure yet, but people who are there in Braj, his devotees, pure devotees, when they experience that pure love with the Lord, with the bonding, of that loving reciprocation that they have, and that's like the highest happiness, right? And if we understand this, if we know this, there's Krishna is saying in this chapter we started with, that's the highest destination. That's the highest goal one can attain. And then that's why we have to steer our path towards that. That's what we are discussing in this chapter. Very nice. Thank you all for sharing that beautifully. Okay, so we'll continue next week and then we'll finish this chapter. In that way, we will conclude the book. And then we will start with the next. Okay, so I think we'll end here.
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
When does this class happen? Which days?
This happens on Monday. And Mataji or Mehika, do you know what are the days we have these classes?
Mataji, we have for Madhusudhan, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and not right now Friday, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Same time, 7 o'clock. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They cover different topics. On Mondays, we read these books of Srila Prabhupada. On Tuesday and Wednesday, there are different topics. I think one of the Wednesday's classes is like they discuss all the festivals and so on. So there are different topics, but Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
The classes are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay. So Mukund, can you text Priyanka Mataji to add you into the group? And you will get all the announcements on that group. There is a WhatsApp group. Just send a message to Priyanka Mataji.
Mataji, we are already in the group.
Okay.
My
So
father is in the group. Yes.
So you'll get all the announcements there for all the classes.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you for joining all. So we'll continue next week. We'll end here. So we'll quickly say our prayers to end. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna everyone. We'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Bye.
Hare Krishna.